Chapter 1. Childhood Bonds, College Dreams.
The neighborhood where Emma Collins and Liam Carter grew up was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, where fences were low and laughter often spilled into the streets. Their houses sat side by side, separated only by a weathered wooden gate that had long lost its paint. For as long as Emma could remember, Liam had always been there, racing her to the mango tree, stealing bites of the sandwiches her mother made, and walking her home under the soft glow of the streetlights. It was routine, it was comfortable, and it was hers. But comfort had a way of hiding secrets. For Emma, that secret was her heart. Every time Liam smiled at her, every time he tugged her ponytail and said, "Hurry up, slowpoke," she felt her chest tighten in ways she could never admit. To him, she was just Emma, the girl next door, his constant, his best friend. To her, he was everything. Years later, not much had changed between them, except that Emma had gotten better at hiding her feelings. They still shared meals when one cooked too much, still sat together on the park bench they called their special spot, still found comfort in the familiarity of each other's presence. But college brought new spaces, new faces, and a world bigger than their quiet neighborhood. On a bright Tuesday afternoon, Emma sat under the large acacia tree on campus, scribbling in her notes while students hurried past. The air smelled faintly of chalk and freshly cut grass, and the chatter of classmates created a low hum around her. She was content in her little corner of peace, until a familiar voice broke through. "Boo!" Emma gasped and almost dropped her pen. She turned, her heart lurching, only to see Liam standing there with that same mischievous grin he'd worn since they were kids. His jacket was slung carelessly over his shoulder, hair tousled as though he hadn't bothered to comb it. "Liam!" she scolded, pressing a hand to her chest. "You scared me half to death." "That was the point," he chuckled, sliding into the grass beside her without asking. "What? Aren't you happy to see your best friend?" Emma rolled her eyes, but her lips betrayed her with a smile. "You could have at least texted. What are you doing here?" "I wanted to see your campus," he shrugged, leaning back on his hands. "And you? Besides, I was bored." The hours slipped by as they wandered the grounds together, teasing each other, pointing out little things that reminded them of home. It was almost as if they were back in their neighborhood, just older versions of themselves. Emma felt the familiar warmth settle in her chest, the kind of warmth she wished she could bottle up forever. But then, everything shifted. As they rounded the corner near the fountain, Liam suddenly stopped mid-laugh. His eyes fixed ahead, and Emma followed his gaze. There, by the water, stood a girl with long, sunlit hair, her laughter ringing like a melody. She was surrounded by friends, her presence magnetic, her beauty impossible to ignore. "Sophia Hayes," Emma whispered before she realized she'd spoken out loud. Liam's brows shot up. "You know her?" Emma's throat tightened. Of course she knew Sophia, everyone did. She was in one of Emma's lectures, popular and effortlessly radiant. The kind of girl people noticed the moment she entered a room. Liam's lips curved into an excited grin. He nudged Emma lightly. "Tell me about her. I think I like her." For a moment, Emma forgot how to breathe. Her smile wavered, but she forced it back into place. The ache in her chest spread slowly, like cracks across glass. Still, she nodded, her voice quiet. "Yeah," she said, "I know her." And in that moment, Emma realized that sometimes, the person you've loved all your life could look right past you, and into someone else's eyes. Chapter 2. The beginning of something painful. The next few days passed like a slow storm for Emma Collins. It began innocently, just Liam Carter leaning against her desk after class, tapping his pen on her notebook. "So," he said with a boyish grin, "what does Sophia Hayes usually do after lectures? Don't tell me she's one of those library types who spends all night buried in books." Emma pretended to look thoughtful, though she already knew the answer. "She likes the cafe near the South Gate, the one with the blue umbrellas. She's there almost every afternoon." Liam's eyes lit up. Perfect. That's where I'll go then. And so it began. Day after day, Emma fed him little pieces of Sophia, her favorite hangout spots, the clubs she had joined, the songs she liked humming under her breath when she thought no one was listening. To Liam, these details were stepping stones. To Emma, they were daggers she sharpened herself. The first time Liam walked into that cafe, Sophia was already there, a book open in front of her. Emma sat at a far corner table, pretending to scroll through her phone. She watched Liam stride over with easy confidence, flashing the smile that always made her knees weak. "Mind if I join you?" he asked Sophia, his tone casual, practiced. Sophia looked up, her lips curving into a welcoming smile. "Not at all." And just like that, a door opened between them. Emma sat silently, her coffee growing cold. Every laugh Sophia gave, every grin Liam returned, chipped away at her heart. When Sophia leaned in closer to hear him better, Emma's hands curled into fists beneath the table. She told herself she was just there by coincidence, but the truth was harsher. She couldn't stay away. Over the next week, the pattern repeated itself like a cruel script. In the corridors, Emma trailed a few steps behind as Liam walked with Sophia, his head tilted toward her, laughing at something she said. In the cafeteria, she sat across the room, her tray untouched, eyes wandering to where they shared quiet conversations. At times, she thought Liam caught her gaze. But if he did, he didn't say anything. Her chest felt heavy with every passing day, yet she forced herself to stay. Because that's what best friends did, wasn't it? They supported, they cheered, they helped, even if it meant standing in the shadows. One late afternoon, as they left campus, Liam caught up with Emma, his smile brighter than she had seen in weeks. "You really are the best, you know that?" he said, slinging an arm over her shoulders like he always did when they were kids. "Wish me luck with her." Emma's breath caught, her steps faltered, but she forced her lips into a smile. "Good luck, Liam," she whispered. He grinned, unaware of the storm in her chest. And Emma hid her pain the way she always did, with silence and a smile. Chapter 3, Left Behind. It happened gradually, like shadows lengthening at dusk. One moment, Liam Carter was still beside Emma Collins, sharing inside jokes, walking her home, asking her opinion on everything from his classes to his favorite shirt. The next, he was gone more often than not, lost in the orbit of Sophia Hayes. Emma didn't blame him. At least that's what she told herself. But the silence where his presence used to be pressed against her ribs until it hurt. In the cafeteria, she sat at their usual corner table, her tray untouched. Across the room, Liam leaned forward across Sophia's table, eyes fixed on her like she was the only person in the world. Emma looked down at her food, stabbing half-heartedly at her rice. When laughter burst from Liam's table, it cut sharper than she cared to admit. "Emma, you okay?" a classmate asked, sliding into the seat beside her. She forced a laugh, lifting her head. "Yeah, just tired. Exams, you know?" But her eyes betrayed her, flickering toward her phone on the table. The screen stayed dark, silent. No messages. Not even a missed call. Once, Liam would have sent her random memes or asked her if she'd eaten. Now, nothing. The loneliness followed her outside the cafeteria, into the lecture halls. She laughed at her classmates' jokes, but the sound felt hollow in her own ears. She scrolled through her phone between lectures, her thumb hovering over Liam's name, tempted to text him something, anything, but she never pressed send. By late afternoon, the campus grounds were thinning out, the sky painted orange by the setting sun. Emma hugged her books to her chest, walking slowly toward the gate. The sight of couples and groups of friends made her chest feel even heavier. Then, "Hey, careful there." A firm but gentle voice stopped her. Emma looked up, startled, and nearly dropped her books as she collided with someone. He steadied her with ease, his hand warm against her arm. James Blake. She had seen him around before. tall, composed, with an easy smile that seemed to belong to someone who never rushed through life. "You look like you're carrying half the library," he teased lightly, bending down to pick up a notebook she had nearly dropped. Emma blinked, startled at his casual kindness. "It's just notes. I was headed home." James shifted the stack of books from her arms into his own without waiting for permission. "Then let me walk you." "No way you're hauling these all the way by yourself." Emma opened her mouth to protest, then closed it again. It had been days since anyone had insisted on being there for her. For the first time in what felt like forever, she let her shoulders relax. As they walked side by side down the quiet path lined with acacia trees, James chatted about professors, classes, little everyday things. His voice was steady, comforting. And when Emma laughed at one of his dry remarks, it was soft but real, the first unforced smile she'd worn in days. And for a fleeting moment, under the fading glow of sunset, the ache in her chest eased. Chapter 4: The New Suitor. The days that followed settled into a quiet rhythm. James Blake seemed to appear more and more in Emma Collins's life. Not forced, not intrusive, just present. He walked her home when classes ended late, carried her books when she looked tired, and lingered at her gate as they finished their conversations. Emma found herself laughing again, the sound surprising even her. James wasn't loud or overly charming. He was steady, attentive, the kind of person who noticed small things others missed, like how she always tugged at her sleeve when she was nervous, or how she hummed under her breath when the evening air grew cold. One evening, the sky dimmed into twilight, painting their street in soft shades of gold and gray. Emma and James were leaning against the low fence outside her house, talking about nothing in particular. Professors with strange quirks, the upcoming campus festival. James said something dry, and Emma burst into laughter, covering her mouth with her hand. That was when Liam Carter arrived. He was just stepping out of a car, Sophia Hayes still inside, waving goodbye. Liam's eyes landed on Emma first, her laughter, her easy smile, and then on James, standing close, his hand still holding the strap of Emma's bag as though he had carried it all the way home. The warmth in Liam's chest curdled. He walked over, his tone sharp though his words sounded casual. "You should be careful," he said, his eyes fixed on James before flicking to Emma. "You don't even know him." Emma blinked, surprised at the sudden edge in his voice. "Careful?" she echoed, brows furrowing. "Liam, he's just being kind. And I don't think James is that type of guy." Her words hung heavy in the air. For a moment, Liam said nothing, his jaw tightening as though chewing back something harsher. He wanted to argue, to say that's not the point, but the words wouldn't come. James glanced between them, sensing the tension, but simply smiled and handed Emma her books. "I'll see you tomorrow, Emma," he said smoothly, giving her a little nod before turning away. Emma waved after him, still smiling faintly. Liam, however, stood stiff and silent, watching the way James's figure disappeared down the dimly lit street. When Emma finally turned toward her house, Liam remained rooted in place, his jaw set, hands shoved into his pockets. His best friend was laughing with someone else, someone who wasn't him, and for the first time he didn't like the feeling. Chapter 5: Always There. James Blake had become a steady figure in Emma Collins's days. He walked her between classes, carried her books when they stacked too high, and waited with her in the library when lectures dragged late. He wasn't pushy. He was simply there, like a quiet promise Emma hadn't realized she needed. But every time James was there, so was Liam Carter. It began at the university festival. The campus was alive with music and laughter, stalls lined with games and food, strings of paper lanterns swaying in the breeze. James handed Emma a small toy hammer, grinning. "Come on, let's win something. I'll show you my secret skill." Emma laughed as she tried the strength game, barely moving the lever, before James stepped in and slammed it down, the bell clanging at the top. The vendor handed Emma a stuffed bear, and she was still giggling when a familiar voice broke through. "Not bad," Liam said, appearing from the crowd. He plucked the bear from her arms, tossing it lightly. "But can you beat me?" James raised a brow. Emma blinked. "Liam? What are you doing here?" Liam shrugged casually, though his eyes didn't leave James. "Festival's open for everyone. Thought I'd join." Emma forced a laugh, but the air felt heavier, her smile strained. The next time was at the grocery store. Emma had gone with James, chatting about recipes they wanted to try. James reached for the last carton of milk on the shelf, only for a hand to grab it first. "Here, Emma." Liam's voice was smooth as he placed the carton into her basket with a grin. "Knew you'd need this." James blinked. "Funny. I was just about to. Guess I was faster." Liam cut in, his smirk sharp. Emma pressed her lips together, torn between amusement and irritation. And then came the restaurant. James had taken her out for dinner at a small place off campus, the warm yellow lights giving everything a cozy glow. They were halfway through their meal when the bell above the door jingled. "Emma?" Liam's voice rang out. He walked over, sliding into the empty chair at their table without waiting for an invitation. "Didn't expect to see you here." Emma stared at him, incredulous. "You followed me here, didn't you?" "Coincidence," Liam said smoothly, sipping from the glass of water the waiter had just set down. "What are you guys having?" James chuckled lightly, trying to diffuse the tension, but Emma wasn't fooled. She had seen the pattern too many times now. By the end of the week, Emma snapped. As they walked out of the restaurant, Liam trailing too close behind them, she stopped short and whirled on him. "Why are you always here when it's me and him?" she demanded, her voice sharper than she intended. For a moment, Liam froze. His mouth opened, but no answer came. His eyes flicked between Emma and James, then back to Emma again. Conflicted, restless, like he was fighting something he couldn't name. Emma shook her head, exhaling shakily, and walked off with James. Liam remained where he stood, watching her retreating figure. Later, on the empty walk home, Liam shoved his hands deep into his pockets, his expression stormy. He couldn't explain it even to himself. All he knew was that something about seeing Emma with James didn't sit right. Something didn't feel right at all. Chapter 6. Liam's Confusion. The evening was calm, the sky painted in fading streaks of orange as Liam Carter walked alongside Sophia Hayes. They had just finished dinner at one of her favorite restaurants. Her arm linked with his as they strolled down the street. Sophia was chatting about a new film she wanted to see, her voice warm, her laughter light. But Liam's mind wasn't fully there. He kept catching himself drifting back to thoughts of Emma Collins. Her quick wit, her easy laugh, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled. No matter how much he tried to focus on Sophia, Emma's face slipped in like an uninvited thought. And then, as if conjured by his restless mind, there she was. Across the street, Emma appeared with James Blake at her side. James was carrying her bag, cracking some quiet joke that made Emma laugh, her voice ringing like a melody Liam hadn't realized he missed until now. "Emma," Liam said before he could stop himself. Emma looked up, surprised. Her lips curved into a polite smile. "Liam, Sophia, E." James gave Liam a nod, then offered his hand. "James Blake. I think we've seen each other around." "Yeah," Liam said shortly, shaking it before quickly letting go. His jaw felt tight. Sophia's eyes darted between the two pairs, her expression unreadable but calm. "Nice to finally meet you both," she said warmly. Then, after a small pause, she added with casual brightness, "Why don't we all go on a double date tomorrow?" Emma blinked, caught off guard, but nodded politely. James smiled as though the idea didn't bother him. Liam, however, forced a tight smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Yeah, sure," he murmured. though his stomach nodded at the thought. As they parted ways, Liam kept silent, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. Outwardly, he played along. But inside, the idea of watching Emma laugh across the table at James made him want to tear the very air apart. And for the first time, Liam wished Sophia had never asked the question. Chapter 7: The Double Date Disaster. Emma Collins's heart pounded as she walked away from Liam and Sophia, James steady at her side. The polite smile she had forced during their little encounter slipped the moment she was out of sight. Her chest felt tight. A double date, with Liam and Sophia. Her stomach twisted. It wasn't jealousy. At least that's what she told herself. But the thought of sitting across from Liam, watching him dote on Sophia while she tried to pretend everything was fine, felt unbearable. Still, Emma knew she couldn't back out. Saying no would only raise questions, and she wasn't ready for anyone. Not Liam, not Sophia, not even James. To see the truth written across her heart. The next evening, the four of them set out for the restaurant, the air thick with tension only Emma seemed to notice. James was cheerful, Sophia radiant, Liam casual as always. But Emma felt every step like she was walking deeper into a trap. Halfway down the street, her heel snagged on a crack in the pavement. She stumbled forward with a sharp gasp, collapsing onto one knee. Pain shot up her ankle, hot and sudden. Emma! James was at her side instantly, his arms sliding around her for support. Don't move. You might have twisted it. Emma winced, clutching his arm for balance. But before James could help her up, Liam's voice cut in, rough and commanding. Step back, James. I'll take care of her. James looked up sharply, his brows furrowed. She's hurt, Liam. I've got her. No, Liam's jaw was clenched, his eyes burning with something unspoken. She's my responsibility. I'll take her. Emma stared at him, startled. Liam, what are you saying? You don't have to. I do, Liam snapped, his voice rising before he caught himself. His eyes softened slightly when they fell on her, but his grip remained firm. Emma, you know I can't just stand by. Sophia folded her arms, her tone cool but cutting. Liam, James is already helping her. Why are you making this a scene? Liam turned toward her, his words tumbling out before he could stop them. Because it's Emma. I can't. He cut himself off, frustration tightening his throat. He couldn't finish the sentence, not with Sophia's sharp gaze on him and James bristling just inches away. James straightened, his voice calm but edged with steel. You're acting like she belongs to you, Liam. She doesn't. The air stilled. Emma's heart pounded, torn between the three of them. Stop it, she said quickly, her voice cracking. This isn't about you two arguing. She winced, the pain flaring again in her ankle. That was all Liam needed. Without another word, he pushed past James and scooped Emma into his arms, ignoring her startled gasp. Liam! Emma clutched at his jacket, her cheeks burning. Put me down. Not a chance, he muttered, already striding toward the street. You're going to the hospital. End of discussion. James stood frozen, fists clenched, but Emma's pleading eyes silenced him. Sophia watched with narrowed eyes, lips pressed together, something unreadable flickering across her face. By the time Liam settled Emma in the car, the world around her felt like a blur. His heartbeat pounding against her ear, the warmth of his grip unyielding, the tension in his voice as sharp as the ache in her ankle. Later, at the hospital, Emma lay on the bed, the sterile white light glaring overhead. The doctor had said it was only a sprain, a week of rest. Yet what lingered wasn't the pain in her ankle, but the echo of Liam's words. When the room quieted and it was just the two of them, Liam sat by her side, his hand resting protectively on the edge of the bed. His voice was low, almost raw. You don't get it, Emma, he whispered. I can't stand seeing you in pain. Not with him. Not with anyone. Only me. Emma's breath caught. His words wrapped around her heart like a chain, Comforting, terrifying, impossible to ignore. Torn between anger and the dangerous familiarity of his care, she looked away, blinking back the storm of feelings she could no longer deny. Chapter 8. Falling all over again. The doctor's orders had been clear. Emma Collins was to stay off her ankle for at least a week. A simple sprain, nothing life-altering. Yet in Emma's world, that week changed everything. Liam Carter made sure of it. From the very first morning, he was there. He showed up on her doorstep with steaming containers of congee and fried chicken, balancing them in one arm as he kicked the door closed behind him like he owned the place. "You're hopeless," he said with a grin, setting the food on her desk. "Left to yourself, you'd probably starve." Emma rolled her eyes, tugging the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "I'm injured, not dying." "Same thing," he countered, ladling soup into a bowl and setting it in her hands. "Eat." When she tried to protest, he plucked the spoon from her grip and leaned in with exaggerated patience. "Open your mouth, Collins." She laughed, cheeks flushing. "You're ridiculous. And you're stubborn." He grinned, feeding her anyway. The days blurred into a series of tender rituals. Liam fussed over her like a storm disguised as a nurse. He adjusted her pillows with gentle hands, brushed stray hair from her forehead, and once, when she shivered from a draft, he pulled off his hoodie and draped it over her without a word. At night, when the house was quiet, he would stay long after she told him he didn't need to. Sometimes he sat at her desk pretending to do homework. Sometimes he lay sprawled in the armchair, legs stretched out, scrolling idly through his phone. But whenever Emma shifted, his head would snap up, eyes immediately checking if she was in pain. One evening, as she dozed off mid-conversation, she woke to the sound of his soft humming. Her eyes fluttered open just enough to see him seated at her bedside, watching her with an expression so tender it made her heart ache. "You always push yourself too hard," he whispered, brushing her blanket higher. "I'll take care of you, always." Emma shut her eyes again quickly, pretending to sleep, but her chest swelled with emotions she couldn't name without breaking. James Blake came, too. He brought bright sunflowers in a glass vase, sweet chocolates, and cheerful stories. Emma appreciated him truly, but James always arrived to find Liam already there. Liam, who had cooked her favorite pasta from scratch. Liam, who was massaging her ankle gently, his thumbs working carefully over the sore muscles. Liam, who made her laugh so hard she forgot for a moment she was supposed to be heartbroken. And Emma hated herself for wavering. "I told myself I'd move on," she thought one afternoon, watching Liam balance a tray of soup bowls like a clumsy waiter, almost spilling it all before flashing her a sheepish grin. "But how can I, when he's the one making me fall harder every day?" It was late one night when reality came crashing back. Liam had dozed off in the chair, his hoodie still draped over her blanket. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emma's eyes drifted toward it, not intending to look, until the screen lit up. "Sophia Hayes. Dinner tomorrow? Can't wait." The heart emoji glowed like a wound. Emma's chest hollowed, her smile fading into nothing. She turned her face toward the wall, blinking back the sting in her eyes. Liam had given her laughter, comfort, care, everything she'd ever wanted from him, but he was still someone else's. And for the first time, Emma wondered if letting herself fall again was the cruelest mistake of all. Chapter 9. The Ultimatum. The campus was bright and noisy, but Emma Collins felt like she was walking through water. After a week of resting at home, she'd returned to school, her ankle mostly healed but her heart in worse shape than before. She avoided the cafe Liam liked, skipped the library during his usual hours, and kept her eyes glued to the ground whenever she heard his laugh echo across the courtyard. But Sophia Hayes found her anyway. Emma was leaving her lecture hall when Sophia stepped into her path. She looked poised as ever, her hair catching the sunlight, her tone smooth but edged with steel. "Emma," she said, smiling without warmth. "Can we talk?" Emma blinked. "Sophia, sure." They stepped aside into a quieter corner of the hall. Sophia's eyes narrowed slightly as she studied Emma's face. "I've been patient," she began softly. "But I'm not blind. I can see how Liam looks at you." She paused, letting the words sink in. "He's mine now. Stay away from him." Emma's throat tightened. She wanted to argue, to deny it, to say Liam's looks meant nothing, but she couldn't, because deep down she had seen it too. She swallowed hard, nodding once. "All right." Sophia's smile widened, satisfied. "Thank you." She turned and walked away, leaving Emma standing there like a shadow of herself. From that day, Emma started pulling back. She stopped replying to Liam's texts right away, excused herself from their usual walks, and found new corners of campus to hide in. She avoided his gaze in class, turning her head before their eyes could meet. But Liam Carter noticed. He noticed everything. One afternoon, he caught up to her outside the library, his hand catching her arm before she could slip away. "Emma," he said, his voice rough, "why are you ignoring me?" She stared at him, her heart hammering. "Because you already have her," she whispered. "You don't need me anymore." Liam's grip tightened slightly. "That's not true," he said, his voice low and fierce. "I can't let you go." Her eyes flashed with hurt. "Then tell me why, Liam." The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. His lips parted, but no words came. He stared at her, eyes full of everything he couldn't say, everything he'd left too late. Emma's vision blurred with tears. She pulled her arm free, her voice breaking. "That's what I thought." She turned and walked away, her footsteps quick and uneven. Liam stood frozen in the courtyard, watching her retreating figure as the crowd moved around him, feeling the weight of his own silence pressing down like a stone. Chapter 10. The Confession. Liam Carter sat across from Sophia Hayes in the bright cafe, the clink of silverware and hum of conversation filling the air. Sophia was talking, something about her upcoming exam, about plans for the weekend, but Liam heard none of it. His mind had been a fog all morning, haunted by the look on Emma Collins's face when she'd walked away from him. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her tears. He replayed her words over and over. "Then tell me why." And he couldn't. He hadn't. But now, the truth pressed against his chest so hard he could barely breathe. He couldn't let her go. Not because she was his best friend. Not because of habit or comfort. It was because he loved her. He always had. He had just been too blind, too stubborn, too late. Sophia stirred her coffee slowly, her gaze fixed on him. Finally, she set the spoon down and sighed. "You don't have to pretend anymore, Liam." He looked up, startled. Her smile was gentle, but her eyes were steady. "I've known for a while. You've never really been mine. Not the way I wanted." She leaned back, almost wistful. "Go to her, before you lose her for good." He opened his mouth, but no words came. He only managed to choke, "Sophia." She shook her head, silencing him with a small, graceful smile. Then she stood, gathering her bag. "Go." And just like that, she walked away, leaving him sitting in the cafe with his heart pounding and his decision already made. He ran, through crowded hallways, past startled classmates, his breath coming hard and fast. His chest ached, but he didn't care. He only knew he had to find her. And then, outside her building, he saw her. Emma stood by the entrance, her books clutched to her chest, her smile polite as James Blake stood in front of her, holding a bouquet of bright flowers. James's eyes were warm, hopeful, the way Liam's should have been all along. But before Emma could even speak, Liam burst through the crowd, breathless. "Emma!" His voice cracked. He didn't slow down, didn't hesitate. Both Emma and James turned. Emma's eyes widened, startled, as Liam stopped just in front of her, chest heaving, eyes blazing with desperation. "Because I love you." The words tumbled out raw, unpolished, and trembling. "I can't let you go because I always have. I was just too blind to see it." Emma froze. The bouquet slipped slightly in James's hand as silence stretched, broken only by Liam's ragged breaths. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling before she could stop them. She shook her head, half in disbelief, half in release. James's jaw tightened. Slowly he stepped back, lowering the flowers. His gaze flickered to Emma one last time, then to Liam, before he gave a small, respectful nod and walked away. Liam took Emma's hands in his grip trembling. "Don't push me away anymore. Please, not this time." Her tears streamed freely now, her lips trembling. For a moment he thought she'd slip away again. But then she moved, throwing her arms around him, burying her face in his chest as sobs shook her shoulders. Liam held her as if she were the only thing tethering him to the world, his own tears hot against her hair. "I'm sorry," he whispered, over and over. "I should have known sooner. I should have chosen you all along." She pulled back just enough to look at him, her smile breaking through her tears. "You're here now. That's enough." Later, as the sun dipped low, the two of them walked down the familiar street they'd traveled 1,000 times as children, side by side just like before. Only this time, their fingers were interlaced, their hands clasped tightly together, as though they had finally found their way home.